All right, Frank, I'm going to ask you this. What's your favorite G.I. Joe storyline? Because I don't think you touched on it.
Or even Transformers.
Really, the Transformers, the whole first like 13 or 14 episodes, like is that whole
Classic
initial plot that was like them landing on Earth and having their initial battle. That's the core of Transformers for me. You know, anything after that was like, you know, their adventures on Earth, and there was wacky stuff thrown in, and there was like always that toss back to the main battle. But really, that first season was all about Transformers. G.I. Joe actually went the other way. Got better in the second season.
Real quick, did you like the humans, Spike and his dad? Did you like them at all?
A little bit. They were better in the comics, where they were actually Buster and Spike or something instead of Sparkplug or whatever he was. You know, the ones on the cartoon were only there to be, you know, endangered. They were only They were only but they were really just there to cause complications. Like, oh crap, we can't do this because we'll crush this asshole who shouldn't even be here.
I hated the yellow boots too. I really got it.
See, like, and later on when they later on they got to the headmasters and shit like that, where they were inside the actual head of the Transformer, and that was just ridiculous. Like, well, now we might as well be watching Robotech or something.
Let's search that planet, Magnus. We've got to find them, but they're helping him defeat the Decepticons.
Look, it's the Headmaster Autobots.
Incredible!
Yes, the driver of the vehicle actually becomes the head of the robot.
Headmaster Transformers, much more than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Each Headmaster Autobot displays a readout of its power. Nothing's better than going to battle with Headmaster Transformers, sold separately from Hasbro.
252.
When Hasbro relaunched G.I. Joe in 1982, cartoons were heavily regulated, and they weren't allowed to make a 30-minute commercial for toys yet. So around that time, there was a bunch of deregulation, thanks to good old Reagan, and suddenly it was okay to make a 30-minute commercial that advertised your product directly to kids. And as kids, we were very thankful for that, because everything got cooler right about then.
Definitely for me, like I said before, for me, it was like, I don't know what came first. Was it the going through the stores and seeing the toys on the shelves and then noticing that there was a cartoon, or did I see the cartoon first, walked in, saw the toys, and had to have them? Whatever came first, the chicken or the egg, the formula definitely fucking worked, because I begged, and for me, my mom was one of those mothers that was like, you got rewarded for good work. So if you did good, if you did good progress reports, or if you did, good report card or whatever, you brought home an A on your book report, she would take you to the store. We'd go to Kmart or whatever.
Yeah, get you that
thing. Because that was, Kmart, Blue Light Special on G.I. Joes. That was me. That was my wheelhouse. And I almost always wanted a toy. Like when I was a kid, that's always what I wanted. Every birthday, every Christmas. Toys.
Send them the new G.I. Joe thing.
I like action figures. That's what it was. Yep.
I tell you what, and Frank, I think you will attest to this. What were the Mego toys making a comeback around the same time, or did they have the Secret Wars out? Because that was my shit.
Yeah.
Right. It was all around the same time. Secret Wars was like 84. But the thing with the G.I. Joe, which came first, is they also did something interesting there that was another first, is they had the comic book because they couldn't do the cartoon at first. So they actually made animated versions, 30-second commercials of the comic book storylines. So we were watching these little, it would show a 30-second G.I. Joe cartoon that looked just like the cartoon, and then it would say, find out more in this month's issue from Marvel Comics. And oh crap, there's a comic book, so they'd have to buy that. And then you go, wow, this is introducing this new toy that suddenly showed up on the shelf at the same time. And they just created this whole circle of like
diabolical.
Well, that not only that, but I remember that. What was that? That cross promotion when who was it first? Was it Refrigerator Perry, or was it Sergeant Slaughter?
Oh, I think Slaughter was
Was
first.
Slaughter first?
Perry came first because wasn't it 85 when they won the Super
85
Bowl?
was, yeah.
84, 85
So
Bears,
I think Refrigerator Perry first, because I remember his weapon was a football on a chain with a handle when he would swing it around and bash people up, and he had the gap in his teeth and everything.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
fridge.
What was his number on his shirt?
Was it 00?
I want to say it was 56, but I know it probably wasn't. It damn sure wasn't a 252.
I know.
Should have been.
Too many
That's a
numbers.
good question. I do not remember what. I can't even remember what Fridge's number was.
Yeah,
I want to
I mean,
say 76.
He's kind of
he was a D lineman, right?
Yeah.
So he was,
Who was,
his moment of fame was very brief.
yeah,
Yeah. But he did score a touchdown as an eligible
receiver.
and
And I think he was a lead running back or blocker. I'm trying to think about old football stuff right now. But they did everything they could. But yeah, the '85 Bears was clearly, that they were that popular, were that character of all character, but that athlete out of all the things that become a character like that. And at that time, as popular as G.I. Joe was, especially in my world, that got me a little more interested in football, because at that time I wasn't even really into football. Like, I was aware of it because my father, uncles, and stuff like that, and dudes in the neighborhood, and I played football. But to know who was on what team and who even was my favorite team,
I wasn't that
I
aware
wasn't
yet.
that kid. I mean, I could play football. I go out in the street and play it, but I wasn't watching football on Sundays.
Right.
Until the fridge was on. Joe. And going back to, that was also around the same time where I started getting into wrestling, like I said before. So when you had that character, Sergeant Slaughter, and even when he was in the thing, he was the real American hero, Sergeant Slaughter.
Right, yeah.
And you maggots! And,
another good cross promotion, too,
Yeah.
with wrestling and G.I. Joe.
And they had him voice himself for the cartoon, or else they got the most amazing impersonator of all time. I'm pretty sure it was actually the Sarge. Not too many people sound like that guy, Like, I can't even come close.
It sounds like
the
he
most
was,
gravelly voice ever.
gargling razor blades.
After they did Refrigerator Perry and then they did Sergeant Slaughter, the next one that they had planned was Rocky Balboa. It actually showed up in the Order of Battle comics, where it listed off all the everybody on the roster. It had Rocky, and the deal fell through. So the next issue came out, and it's like, no, Rocky is not and never has been a member of the G.I. Joe. They had to retract it, and it's like, oops. But that would have been the next one. It was right around Rocky IV when he was fighting Russians, and it would have made perfect sense.
Well, what actually would have made perfect sense if they would have done
Rambo.
Well, that was the tie-in too. Like, well, he's Rambo and he's this Rocky, so yeah. But see, Rambo was too much about like he was using real weapons at a time when the cartoon wouldn't have been able to use him.
Yeah, they were using lasers. And, he was really
You know what I used to love the best about G.I. Joe? When it came to shooting people, they were horrible shots, but they could shoot a vehicle behind their back.
Oh, for sure.
And 10 times out of 10, if they shot down an airplane, you always saw them hit that ejection
you always saw
parachute. I can shoot the plane out of the sky, but the guy falling on the parachute, can't get him. Couldn't even hit the parachute.
Yeah, that was definitely one of those FCC things. Bad. You can't show all this death and destruction. Meanwhile, the comics had no problem with it. They were putting in, they were using real guns. They were using military weapons. But yeah, no lasers.
You show exit wounds though. You could only show entry wounds. You couldn't show the exit wound in the comic.
And I wonder if that's why they use lasers too, because it was a real weapon.
Yes.
They didn't use lasers in the comics though, so that's the thing. They still had the comics code to follow though, so yeah, they couldn't get gory with it. Now they could do the heads exploding into 3,000 people. Wow. Comics have changed.
And I think that's why that scene in G.I. Joe, in the animated movie, why I think it struck me so well when Duke got hit with that snake spear, and it hit him in the heart, and they showed the blood and everything. It was like, and then he did the eyes, and people's got really, I remember,
Sounds like you still have some feelings about it.
Got really small and everything. It was like, oh, shit.
Now, when that first came out, it says that it only came out direct to video. I swear I saw that I didn't see it at the theaters, but I remember it at the Solano Mall. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it did come out in the theaters for like a week or two, just like the Transformers did. But did he not die originally? Now they have retrofitted, so he comes back to life at the end. But I don't remember him coming back to life at the end back in '85 or '6 or whatever it was.
I want to say he didn't die, but it was one of those things where he definitely wasn't in the rest of the movie. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think if they tied it in. I as a kid, I remember being shook to my core when that happened. Like, that didn't happen.
Right. Well, the current at the ending on it now says, "Oh, Duke was just in a coma. He'll be all right." Oh.
Yeah, I think that's. I want to say probably that's what happened because it wasn't. But they did like in the going back to the theatrical release of the Transformers movie, they did kill Optimus Prime.
They killed everybody.
They killed a lot of them. Yes. Starscream, dead.
Well, no, because Starscream changed into somebody else. But I'm talking about like the Autobots. Like they would blow them up, and then all that was left was like their feet.
Ashes.
Like everything else was gone, and it'd just be their feet was still standing there. Like they came through, and they was like.
I gotta rewatch that.
Yeah, they was. Yeah. I was like, I was like, they're all dying.
Yeah,
like,
they were not joking around. They're like, you will stop buying these Generation 1 toys immediately because that's it. And like, wow, what a complete. There was no like brand by Optimus Prime slowly passed it, and we got used to easing out of our favorites into these new guys. There was just like, they're dead. Start now.
Yeah. I remember those toys because I want to say off the top of my head, I did have a Hot Rod. I never got Rodimus Prime. I had Hot Rod. I had I think the character's name was Stryker. I think he turned into like a futuristic helicopter. Mm-hmm. And then there was this baby blue guy named Blur. And he was like a futuristic race car.
Futuristic race car.
And he talked really fast. It was the guy from the voice who did it was the guy from the Micro Machines.
Yeah.
What was his name? The Micro Saints. And he would talk like that. Yeah. He was Blur. Yeah, he was balding, had a little mustache.
He was on Saved by the Bell.
He was on Saved by the Bell?
Yeah, he was on
what episode of Saved by the Bell was he on?
He was on the episode of Saved by the Bell when... let's see, the kids, they had to study for a big test, and he was giving them instructions on what was going to be on the test.
And he was saying it really fast, and they was trying to do the notes, and he was talking so fast. And then somebody's pen started smoking. Saved by the Bell. I love that show. Well, that's what we need to do. We need to do a full show on Saved by the Bell.
Next episode.
From the Where Are They Now to the favorite episodes to the girls who you had crushes on. Not just the main three, but they had.
There were definitely some guest stars that I had.
There were some guest stars over the years.
Like the girl that Slater and Zach fought over when they actually got into that fight.
Who is it?
Probably hasn't worked since that show, but
you know what? We'll table that, and then we'll do our research, and we'll come back. And I even want to include Good Morning Miss Bliss into that because I watched a lot of those too. Why not?
Yeah, I hated that series, but I'll watch it now. I watch it now as like a Riverdale prequel. It'll be all good.
Yeah, it's funny that you use that comment because first I'm so pissed off because again. I am not caught up on Riverdale. I feel. My God.
We've got to get caught up by the next episode.
Oh, there's a 2-week break, so you got time.
Oh, good.
All right, so who did you like better, G.I. Joe or Cobra? We just got to put this out there. G.I. Joe.
I think I would have assembled a team of some of each. There was like a few really cool G.I. Joes, and then there was a few really cool Cobra people. It always seemed like there should be some kind of like. And later on they did in the comics where like Storm Shadow became a G.I. Joe and things like that. Where you're like, well, he's too cool to be one of the bad guys.
I know, right?
But if I had to pick just one team, the Cobra they had all the cooler stuff for sure. Their gear was better.
And they actually both teams had quirky characters, but I think Cobra may have had quirkier characters, and plus they had the Baroness, which is my number one But that being said, I like Destro. Destro always being the foil of
I feel like
Cobra
if
Commander.
Destro
Like-
ran Cobra would win more often.
been a lot more successful.
Yeah, Cobra Commander
Exactly.
was an idiot. Cobra Commander kind of reminds me of somebody who might be running the country now.
I was gonna say a Cobra Commando and Destro are like Trump and Pence. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, it's like
They're more likely though. They would Bush and Cheney would probably be a more direct.
yeah, because Cheney was actually running the country. Well, Bush was like, mission accomplished. we didn't win. What are you talking about? It's not over.
Tomax and Zaymot. I mean, come on.
Tomax and Zaymot, I really
Hands
like
down,
those
I like
characters. And of all the G.I. Joe characters, every time we see somebody wearing like a blue top with white pants and the other guy's wearing a white top with blue pants, we say, hey, look, there's Tomax and Zaymot. And I like the premise how you can smack one and the other one's like, ah! It's like,
Definitely awesome.
Now that was the case. Like
Of course
one
you can
felt
do
the other's pain, yet only one of them had a huge scar that was supposed to differentiate the two. Like, how come you got a huge scar? He didn't get a huge scar. What's up?
because he got the scar and I felt it is what happened.
There you go. That makes sense.
Tomax, put your guard up. Zaymot keeps getting fucked up. It's like,
You know, again with the comics, they were a lot less goofy over there. Like Cobra won battles, people lost things. There were better. The stakes were higher, and at the end of every issue, they didn't reset. You know, like they do with the cartoon. You know, like the Cobra Commander was still an idiot, but he was a little bit less of an idiot. You know, maybe because he wasn't being voiced by Starscream at that point.
I would have to say it's almost like the same thing with the Transformers. I mean, you had Decepticons that were really cool,
Yeah.
and then you had a lot of throwaway Autobots. And I know you guys probably stopped watching the cartoon. I think I went with the series all the way to the end. I do appreciate when they try to give those, let's say if there's A-list characters, B-list characters. I do like when those standalone C-list characters, like
When they had their time in
they get to get their one-off episodes and stuff like that. I like when they try to do a little something.
And piggybacking on that, I remember the episode of G.I. Joe when Zartan and the Dreadnoughts had their day in the sun. I really did love Zartan.
I did, and like again, when he was by himself or when he got his own crew, they actually they would complete their missions. It was like in Transformers, all the Decepticons were idiots except for Soundwave's tapes. They were the only ones. Actually, well, Rumble and Frenzy, they were a little cum si, cum si, but Laserbeak and Ravage never. They
completed their mission.
Laserbeak was like, I could tell you everything the Autobots are doing. Look, I'm perched up. This is what they're at. Yeah. This is the plan. This is the attack. You guys just got to come in. They never see me. I'm right here. I'm looking at them. Ravage would always, operation.
It's like some of the stupid ways they get him in there, like, Spike would be like, check out this cool mixtape I just got from this guy on the corner. Like, oh shit, it's Ravage.
And then you got Rumble and Frenzy, which, I mean, if they wasn't just pumping their little jackhammers on, then they really
they were useless.
They were useless. But like Soundwave, he didn't mess up, man. Soundwave never messed up.
I'm saying.
Tapes never messed up.
There you go.
The other one like that was Shockwave, but they left him on Cybertron most of the time, so he had less opportunity. But he was always like, "Oh, Megatron, you fucking asshole! You blew my plans again."
Yeah. It's like I drew up a blueprint. I put the map out here. This is the plan right here.
Get it done.
If you make it simple enough, we'll make you get dummies. They did all that stuff, and it was just like the same with the Autobots, man. It was just like, on the opposite side, man, Prime could do no wrong. It was like Optimus Prime is like, whatever they got going on, I'll figure out how to count it. And Bumblebee was always like, Prime, how do we do it again? Don't take it easy, Bumblebee. I got this. Don't worry.
Oh man, that was
Bumblebee was the first cartoon character I ever heard say "oh shit" though. So.
Look! It is an even dented. Oh shit, what are we gonna do now?
Yes.
True that. Unless you watched Fritz the Cat.
Not till much later.
But that was the again the animated movie. You got to touch.
You got the power.
Classic. The all-time classic.
And I gotta say, I think for a whole year I chanted Cobra La. Cobra La 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 La. I mean, I couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop here. I was quite a fan of that.
Yeah, see, that was after the series had ended. I did watch both cartoons all the way to the end. Transformers got a longer run than G.I. Joe. There was only 2 seasons of G.I. Joe, and the movie came after the last season. Yeah, well, that's because that was the 5 days a week thing. So, you know, one season was as long as 5 seasons of something else.
Yeah, they were doing like, what, 40 episode seasons? 35, 40 episodes?
Probably 65, actually.
65? Holy shit.
Let's see, it ran for 2 seasons with a total of 95 episodes. So, yeah, probably a 65 and a 30.
Yeah, because most shows, if they run 100 episodes, that's 5 years.
5 years, yeah, exactly.
So
because they're usually 22 to 26 episodes, right?
See, Transformers had those same 2 seasons, like the short one and the full one, but then they had another full season with the Generation 2 guys after the movie. You know, whereas the G.I. Joe movie came out late because they held off, and then they didn't do any more. And I guess they brought the show back a couple years later that I never saw, and it was like cheaply done and not the same at all.
Well, that being said, I already thought it was kind of cheaply done because, I mean, don't get me wrong, I did love the animation, but
I love the animation.
It was simple, but you would see a lot of the same shit. A lot. And I guess with that many episodes, you would have to see a lot.
A little bit, but compared to the other shows of the time, it wasn't as bad as a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where the same background would loop, but it wasn't as good as like comparing it to Disney Gummy Bears or something.
Well, yeah, you couldn't compare it to that because it was actually, you know, completely different animation, and it was like it was almost like the poor man's anime.
Yeah, exactly. And
I'll go with that. Yeah.
That makes sense because they were Robotech, Voltron, all that shit around the same time.
Yeah, actually, Robotech and Voltron were like early in Japan, and we got it.
Well, right. I mean, for us, that was the thing.
That shit in like the late '70s, early '80s. We got it in like the mid '80s,
which is crazy. And then our animation that kind of took off of that, but they were already like,
but they were
guys on our old shit. We already doing some new shit.
They already doing some new shit. We got Akira.
I was about to say that. We got Akira.
Shit, every cell. We got Princess Monica or whatever.
Mononoke. Yeah. Remember when we had Battle of the Planets in like 1978, 79, and I was like, wow, G-Force, this is cool. And then later on, it's like, I saw the original ones, like, this is nothing like what we watched that had, like, you know, Alan Young from Mr. Ed dubbed in as a robot and all this stuff. It was not in the original, much more violent story.
Was G-Force the one where they were like
the birds?
They had like the...
Yeah, those dope helmets. I love those goddamn helmets. They have the wings.
Feathers, yeah. Like, that was some good shit.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that was our easing into Voltron, because 5 years later when Voltron showed up, it was like, here's another team of 5 kids kind of with the same sort of different colored look, and it was very much a transitional, like, if you like this, you'll like this.
You're going to love this.
And I'm going to say, with that being said, this weekend I'm taking the boys to go see the Power Rangers movie. They've been talking about it. The last couple trailers got me. I was like, you know what? This looks pretty good. This looks really good. And then I heard that little interesting factoid that how Bryan Cranston was the voice of Zordon on the original Power Rangers, and so they had
the American version.
Yeah, and they had Billy, and they were like, well, Billy needed a last name. And it was like, well, name him Cranston. And so Billy Cranston was named after Bryan Cranston because Bryan Cranston was Zordon.
Woof. All right. Well, with that.
That's it. That's all I got. I got nothing else in the tank.
Oh, wow.
Right on time. See, that works.
Yeah. And you got a lot of material that you could put in on a potpourri special. You should mix a potpourri special of all the little stuff that we have. We'll have just different shirts, and we just keep changing.
Every time it cuts back and forth to me or you, it switches outfits. That'd be good.
It switches outfits, and since they're all non-linear fucking crazy talks.
Yeah. It'll make sense with our format.
Yeah.
I see. Like, well, if this was an audio show, it would have made perfect sense. But you get to see the truth. Yeah. That's it for this episode of 252. Thanks everyone for tuning in.
YouTube viewers, be sure to hit subscribe and like.
And check out our website at retronerds252.com.
You can also enable our skills on Amazon's Alexa to receive news, trivia, and podcasts.
So for Frank G, R.E.D., I am Coolwater Kurt saying I'm the best there is at what I do, and what I do ain't too nice.
All right.
Now we'll see you next time.
There it is.
252.
Dodders, pull yourself together.